My name is Younjae, and I'm currently working at Boeing, Korea as a UI/UX engineer.
Meet Younjae, a UX UI designer who graduated from the master's program in UI UX and interaction design back in 2021. Now she's building a successful career at Boeing. Let's hear her journey and what brought her to Touro GST.
Before choosing a graduate program, I did a lot of research, and I wanted a design-focused master's program in New York, and I also needed a STEM program that would allow me to work for 3 years after graduating. So yeah, there was only two options available, and the other school required like way more expensive tuition.
Let's hear how that shift helped shape her path.
My bachelor's was in digital design, mainly graphic design, but I also worked on web design stuff. While back then, I utilized Photoshop and Illustrators, mostly Adobe suites like that, not Figma. That changes my perspective a little bit. So now my passion isn't just about creating something cool or look good. I love listening to users and understanding their needs and solve the real problems.
Now let's hear about her experience in the program and what she thinks of the courses.
I think user-centric thinking was really the thing that I learned and empathized. I had the chance to practice many different design thinking methods across different classes, which helped me communicate better and think more critically and ultimately design something more user-focused.
Let's hear what it's like to work at Boeing and communicate with all the engineers and staff.
I'm very lucky that I get to have a chance to work with very intelligent people. There's software engineers and AI experts and so on. And also, the projects that I work on are all airplane related. So I get to talk to a lot of airplane designers, engineers, whatsoever. It is such a cool experience. I needed to explain the design concepts to the engineers because they don't even know what UI UX is. So I had to explain why we should design this way or that way, why we need the interview session with the users. It's really cool to learn about something new. It's a new domain, right? As a designer, it's really cool at the end when I finally got to understand them as a human being, as individuals.
And finally, let's see if Younjae has any advice for her peers.
I think designers should be listeners and helpers and problem solvers. If you think you're enjoying listening other people and genuinely want to help them, then I think you're already a great fit for this field. So it's important to keep going and stay curious.
We wish Younjae the very best on her career journey. Follow us for more spotlights, and we look forward to seeing you in our next video.